Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
India runs on three things: politics, politics, politics. I know Vidya Balan would not mind my stealing or borrowing that line from her. Now, at the print also, we live and breathe politics because we know that politics makes democracy, democracy makes for freedoms, and behind everything also lies the free media. So, politics is very important. Now, halfway through any government's tenure, you find that politics begins to warm up because then the build up for the next general election starts. Modi government is not exactly at the halfway level now, but it's getting close there. But many things have changed in India since 2017. Although this last general election was 2019, many things have happened in India since 2017, and that now has a bearing on why politics is in a ferment at this moment. At this moment, it looks like a full-fledged political game is on. Normally, you would have thought a full sweeping majority, national parliament, total control over some of the most dominant large states in India. Why should there be anxieties? But there are anxieties because India is a union of states, and states also have a say. Now, since 2017, many states have changed hands. You can see Maharashtra, you can see Rajasthan, Jharkhand, and many others. But more importantly now, next year, UP elections coming up. All of you know that. Everybody knows that. So what am I talking about? Because next year also is India's presidential election. The term of the current president will end next year, in the summer of next year, and a fresh election has to take place. Now, when President Ramnath Kovind's term ends, whether he is given a second shot at the job or someone else is brought in, there will be a fresh election. That fresh election is a time when opposition would be looking to challenge the BJP, NDA and the Modi-Shah combination. Why? You might say that, look, they have such a majority in parliament and elsewhere, why should they worry? That's because India's presidential election, the electoral college is composed in a slightly complicated manner, where one vote, it is not one man or one woman, one person, one vote. Each vote carries a vote value. That vote value depends on where you come from and where you sit. So if you are in parliament, say upper house, lower house, it doesn't matter. Any house of parliament, if you are a member of parliament, you carry a vote value of 708 votes. That means if one MP casts her vote in favor of one candidate, that amounts to 708 votes. But for MLAs, it varies. For example, and it varies then based on that state's population. And population, generally, the benchmark for the population is the 1971 census. So if you see that, then every MP has a weightage of 708. Even the MP from Sikkim has a weightage of 708. But the MLA from Sikkim in Sikkim Assembly has a weightage of just 7. That is the lowest in India. So that is what those MLAs count for. Now, if you see that, if you project that, you can also imagine which is the state where the MLAs carry the highest weightage or highest vote value. That state certainly is Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, the vote value of an MLA is 208. Now you see other popular states, say Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, etc., Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Maharashtra. I will give you the precise figures, but they are all generally in the 155, 150, 180 kind of ballpark. So UP is ahead of all of them. So what happens next year? The headline point is the BJP at this point has 306 seats of its own in a house of 403 plus 11 of Apna Dal, which is a partner. So that gives it an overwhelming sway over the electoral college in UP. So with that, they should just sweep the presidential election. The problem is, the trick is that presidential election comes after UP elections. So 5 states in India will go to the polls before the presidential election. That is Uttar Pradesh, the big daddy, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Manipur and Goa, all of them count for something, but Uttar Pradesh counts for a hell of a lot. Hathi ke paon mein sabka paon, as we say in Hindi. Now what happens? If BJP does not repeat its performance, BJP may still get a majority, but if BJP is 100 short in UP, if it's 100 short of its previous tally in UP, it still gets to rule UP and declare victory. But then it is running into real trouble with the presidential election, because then it needs the support of many other parties to get its candidate elected. Look at how the presidential electoral college right now is structured. So if you look at the full electoral college right now for presidential election, at this point it amounts to 10,87,683 votes. And you will see some tables, and I will also share a story with you that was done by Nikhil Rampal, who is a data journalist, and I am glad that he's come back to us. He trained here to begin with and then went out and came back. So as Rajiv Gandhi used to say, that he looks at NRIs as people who went away from India, got trained outside and came back to do good things. So Nikhil has come back to do good things. A lot of the data that I'm using today has come from him as well. So thank you, Nikhil. Now, the total number of vote value or electoral college votes in India for president is 10,87,683. This consists of all the MPs and MLAs. 33 MLA seats are vacant. Those by-elections may be held, but we don't know who will win where. So right now we are keeping that aside at this point. Also remember, in Parliament, in Rajya Sabha, BJP does have a majority effectively when it comes to bills being passed in the BJP, but BJP has the exact half in Rajya Sabha, that is 116 in 232. BJP gets a comfortable majority because of the 3 nominated MPs. But once again, one of those protectives that the framers of the constitution in their enormous wisdom put in, the nominated members can vote in Parliament, they can vote in Rajya Sabha, but they cannot vote in the presidential election. So that has to be kept in the mind. So this is the total number. We are including the 33 MLA seats which are right now vacant, where by-elections may or may not take place. But this is the pool. We are also excluding the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, because we don't know when that will become a state or when elections will be held there. Unlikely that it might be held before the presidential elections, but you never know. In any case, what we don't know, we don't know. So of this, the BJP needs a half. BJP is tantalizing close to the halfway mark in this electoral college at this point, but not exactly halfway. It actually has 49.95%. So 0.05% say it's a little bit behind. You would imagine BJP's total electoral college votes right now will be 5,43,063. So just a little bit behind. And you would think that there will be some allies, usual suspects, YSRCP, BJD, TRS, some of those parties will come in and vote with the BJP in the presidential election, particularly if they present a candidate who gives them an excuse to say, oh, this is a Dalit candidate, this is a tribal candidate, this is a woman candidate. So BJP would be secure. But this changes if these election results in UP are very different from what they were the last time. For BJP to be completely comfortable in UP now, they will have to do even better than last time. That's because compared to last time, BJP does not have the same numbers in Maharashtra. Maharashtra also carries, Maharashtra MLAs carry a sizable amount of weight. In fact, Maharashtra has 175, sort of just after UP, 175. Jharkhand has 176. That goes back to a legacy. West Bengal has 151. Tamil Nadu has 176. So once again, I'll repeat, Tamil Nadu 176, West Bengal 151, Jharkhand 176, Maharashtra 175. I'm deliberately leaving out many of the states where BJP has a lot of seats because those are counted in already. But these are states where BJP does not have sufficient numbers. They might have done okay in Maharashtra, but not since the formation of the MVA and not since Shiv Sena went out on its own. Now, with all this, they are left 0.05% short, but if they get 100 short in Uttar Pradesh, they will still rule the state and they will declare victory and say the first government to come back to power in Uttar Pradesh in a very long time. But this will be a Pyrrhic victory because that will set them back heavily in the presidential election, because then they will have to reach out to TRS, YSRCP, BJD, many other parties, maybe even Akali Dal, and say, please be with us, and then they will know that they have a bargaining power, and then they will strike a hard bargain. Now, if you look at Uttar Pradesh, see the weight Uttar Pradesh carries, see the activity that's taking place in Uttar Pradesh now politically. UP BJP chief has come into Delhi today. There is talk of a cabinet reshuffle there. Prime Minister has been to Varanasi already, pretty much launching his campaign. He's even given a sterling certificate to Yogi Adityanath government for quote unquote his brilliant management of the COVID crisis in Uttar Pradesh. He has no choice but to do it because too much is hanging on this UP election and too much is hanging on this very high majority in UP election. If you look at the 5 states that are going to the polls next year before the presidential election, each one carries a weight. But if you see, you will see some of these graphics on my screen. If you see a pie chart of all the electoral college votes that these states account for, UP accounts for 80.8%. That's almost 81%. Punjab is 13%. Uttarakhand is 4.3%, and little Manipur is just 1%. I think Manipur's MLAs carry about 70 electoral votes per MLA. So other states will not matter that much, but Uttar Pradesh will matter. And once again, Uttarakhand is a state where BJP has already maxed out. How much better can it do? In Punjab, it does not have much of a chance. So if it does not do even better in UP than it has done, if it does even better, then it gets 50% by itself. Even if it gets 20, 30, 40 less, it might manage. But if it gets 100 less, if it gets a bare majority in UP, which will also be a remarkable achievement, then it has trouble in the presidential election, and that will completely open up the national politics. So if you look at the entire universe of assembly seats in India, that is 4,033 seats in all the assemblies. If you look at the universe also of all state assemblies, and again you will see a graphic, the total number of assembly seats or total number of MLAs should be 4033, of which BJP and its allies, that is NDA, has 1761. Now there's another way of looking at it. We know the situation in Parliament. Look at the MLAs. India has a total of 4,033 MLAs. NDA, that's BJP and its firm allies today, have 1761, because the other thing that's changed since 2017, more since 2018, is that BJP has lost many of its NDA allies, a whole bunch of them, and that has made a difference. TDP has gone, Shiv Sena has gone, Shiromani Akali Dal is gone, many have gone. So that has made a difference. So NDA has 1761, but as I mentioned to you earlier, they do quite poorly in many of the states where MLAs carry a high weightage of vote value, that is Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Jharkhand. Now Maharashtra, again in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, their numbers are not so high. In fact, they don't have a majority in Rajasthan. And Madhya Pradesh, it's a narrow majority. And that is why they get into this trouble. And that is why UP becomes so crucial. Now, if you look at Uttar Pradesh contributes at a high value of 208 per MLA, highest in India for MLAs, 83,824 votes to the Electoral College. So for comparisons, you can see that if all the 5 states going to the polls next year before the presidential election will contribute 103,756 votes, that's about 10% of the Electoral College for the president. Of that, UP will have 83,824, that's almost 81%. That's what happens. Now look at, say, states like Goa, Manipur, Uttarakhand. Each one has a small number of MLAs. Goa has 40, Manipur has 60, Uttarakhand has 70. But these MLAs also carry a small vote value, electoral value for presidential election. For Goa, it's 20, Manipur, it's 18, Uttarakhand, it's 64. For Punjab, it's 116, so not bad, 116, but unlikely that BJP will get many seats there. And if Akali Dal gets some, at this point, Akali Dal is estranged from the BJP. Aam Aadmi Party will get some. So, once again, if the BJP needs votes, they'll have to go out and once again embrace the Akali Dal and make compromises. Let us see if that will happen or not. In UP particularly, because of the high weightage, each seat lost by the BJP, each seat lost over the base that they have right now, say 317, each seat that NDA loses over 317 sets them back by 0.02% in the national count. Now, you might think it's nothing. You might say, oh, 10 amount to only 0.2%. But when you are only 0.05 behind and worrying, falling behind by 0.2% is trouble. In fact, if the BJP or NDA is 50 short of its tally, at 50 short, it still has an overwhelming majority in UP, 50 short of last election's performance. But if they are 50 short, this amounts to losing 15 MPs. So you lose electoral college votes, which are equivalent of 15 members of parliament. It's a lot, and that is why the BJP is so desperate right now. Now, if they don't repeat the performance in UP or better it, or if they fall short by say 100, 110, 120, what will they do? It's not as if they'll definitely lose that election. They'll have to reach out to YSR in Andhra, TRS, that is K. Chandrasekhar Rao's party in Telangana, and also BJD. Now, once again, usually BJP would think they'll take them for granted because they are generally cooperating with the BJP and voting with BJP on most of these crucial things. So you will see the precise figures on the charts that we are carrying. But if you look at YSR CP, they have 151 MLAs in Andhra Pradesh. They swept the last election. So Andhra Pradesh MLAs also have a sizable weightage. That will amount to about 24,000 plus electoral college votes. And similarly, it's 28 MPs in both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. They will add up to another 19,824 votes. So effectively, YSRCP will control 4% of the electoral college. So they will become very crucial. Similarly, TRS in the adjoining state of Telangana, 103 MLAs. Once again, he swept that election. 103 MLAs, they account for 13,596 electoral college votes, a lot, and its 16 MPs again have 11,328. Similarly, the BJD won 113 seats in a house of 147 in Odisha. BJP has 22, Congress has 9, so it was a sweep. And in Odisha also, the MLAs have some sizable value, not so small. So his votes, his MLAs carry 16,837 electoral value votes, electoral college votes. Similarly, his 21 MPs in both houses of parliament carry another 14,868. Now, normally at this point, you would say that these people have been voting with the BJP and they will vote with the BJP. But all of it could change if BJP is like anything more than a 50 short of its current tally in Uttar Pradesh. Because what happens then is politics is about bargaining. Remember, at which point did RJD and JDU split? And JDU came with the BJP. That happened after the 2017 sweep that the BJP had in Uttar Pradesh. So Nitish Kumar also saw the writing on the wall and he knew that this was the rising sun. So charte suraj ko salami karo. Everybody salutes the rising sun. So that tells us that if the BJP falls short in Uttar Pradesh and BJP desperately needs these states, votes from these states to get its candidate elected, then these states will strike a much harder bargain than they've been able to do so far. What they will want in return, we don't know, but it can be anything from a more generous view on continuing cases against many of them to a share of power in Delhi to maybe allocations from the center. We don't know all that, but all bets will be off. And if the BJP says about 100 short of its current tally in Uttar Pradesh, and then the opposition puts up a combined, joint, strong candidate, theoretically, let's say Sharad Pawar, I am not speculating, say Sharad Pawar, then many of these people will have issues. For example, someone like K. Chandrasekhar Rao, TRS, he's been very close to Sharad Pawar, he's learned from Sharad Pawar in the past, and it will become that much tougher for these parties then to choose BJP's candidate as their default option. That is the reason the BJP is now sounding so frantic in Uttar Pradesh. Because one thing you cannot accuse Narendra Modi and Amit Shah of not knowing is politics, and they anticipate political challenges way ahead. So they've seen it. Many in the opposition have also seen it. You can see that Sharad Pawar has also seen it. So once again, on the national politics now, as UP goes for elections, let's repeat that line from West Bengal elections, Khela Hobe.